In Quantum of Solace, I think there was a bit more frostiness or a mistrust between the two of them. And I think Tanner was slightly, if not outraged, then certainly annoyed by the way that Bond always seemed to overstep the mark or play by his own rules, as someone who was in full possession of the rules, in both knowledge and obeisance of them. I think Tanner, yeah, and he and Bond rubbed up against each other slightly spikily in the first one. But ever since they've sort of come to know each other's working practices as well as personalities. Yeah, there's definitely grown a fondness, and I think Tanner is pleased when Bond decides to return to the fold, not only because he thinks he's a good agent, has still got something to offer, but it also creates another sense of continuity and stability, which I think Tanner quite enjoys. This film feels quite, a summary of those that have gone before and the ones that I've been involved in. And that sense of tying up loose ends, that sense of family in many ways, that the family of MI6. I mean, obviously from me because that's what I'm most involved with, and the sense of loyalty and what loyalty requires of you, and what it can do to your own life, your own personal life, as well as working life, and I guess that sense of, as we're confronted daily with a more febrile world in which we all live in, how to keep on top of that and to maintain a degree of semblance of stability, at least outwardly, for the rest of the population, when all amongst all those who are in charge are themselves furiously peddling to maintain as calm as possible. He's more deeply in love, I think, in this film than he has been in any of the others. He's more deeply challenged by the next generation, more deeply challenged by the idea of returning to work and what, I guess, that question of when you've been so used to providing such service and such dedication, when you decide no longer to give that of yourself, what does your life actually amount to if you're just on a beach enjoying yourself? And that's that sense that I guess all people in service have been confronted with when in retirement, of what do I do now? And for Bond, and for some people, that's moving on to different things. For Bond, not only because of what's happened in his personal life and the challenges that have been presented to him in this film, but for him, it's actually he can't give it up. And I think you see that right through to the end. That sense that for all his desire for a life away from the field or away from conflict, ultimately, his life has been one of sacrifice. He got off to a flyer with Casino Royale, and hopefully, each film has strengthened his relationship with the role as well as created new relationships with other characters, which over the time have strengthened and deepened as well. He's got a fantastic sense of humour. He's obviously, he's not bad looking, and he's also just an incredibly deft and gifted actor. And it's a fairly strong package he brings to the franchise, and I wouldn't necessarily like to be the person who follows him. Well, I'm just always in awe of the directors of these things, just because the sheer amount of decisions that they have to make every single day. Just to get out of the car in the morning feels like an act of great moral fortitude. And obviously with Kerry writing this one as well, co-writing it, that he's constantly processing so much information, not only in terms of how this film is looking and the how the scenes are working with the characters, but how that scene is going to lead into the next scene, and how he can maybe adapt that next scene to further on the story. And I mean, it's kind of hypnotic just to see the way that they juggle so many plates throughout these films. really do lead from the front, and the way that they go about their business has an enormous sort of trickle down effect, and the way that they go about their business is with thoroughness, with kindness, with a sense of taking the right things seriously and the right things not seriously. And I think they create a sort of cradle for everyone to work in. They trust their directors and they let them pursue their vision. They trust their writers. They trust their designers. But at the same time, if things are going out of shape, they're very quick to help people to get it back on track again. Every film, the fact that they've been doing it for so long and that they've still got the appetite and enthusiasm and rigor to be as precise as they are each time is again humbling. I think a lot of it is to do with the way that Michael and Barbara and Greg keep pushing themselves, and the way that the creative teams know that there's a body of work upon which people have a great fondness for, but how to keep pushing that forward, how to keep changing it without crushing everyone's expectations. I guess to a certain extent, there's a degree of comfort in something still existing for that amount of time. Some part of the old world or your youth that is still going on and is still as vivid and as exciting as you remember it when you were 6 or 7 when you were first watching them. And I guess there's cars, there's locations, there's stunts, there's all the fun stuff, there's one-liners, there's always a wit, there's a charm, as well as a heart and a kind of dynamism to them all. How much more do you want?